everyone. I just wanted to share with you a way that I have in the past used a Cisco access point to perform spectrum analysis whilst walking around a customer site. Essentially, I was in a situation where I was asked to do spectrum analysis using Spectrum Expert, and I like to use a Mac, and I couldn't find a way of using the PCMCIA card in my Mac. I explored using a USB to Express card adapter and then putting the Express card to PCMCIA adapter in there, and I managed to get the card to power up and the light came on, but then I'm running a virtualized version of Windows and there was no way to interface that. Looked into Samuel Clements. He has a blog post called "You Can Have My Cognio Card When You Pry It From My Cold Dead Hands," and in that he talks about when you if you load into Windows in Boot Camp, you can use the Thunderbolt to PCMCIA adapter and use a Cognio PCMCIA card to do this, but that option wasn't available to me. I wanted to do it in virtual Windows. So, and we know that the Cisco APs with Clean Air have that same chip inside them. So to do this, you need an AP with Clean Air inside it. This is a 3500 I did on this example. It's got to be autonomous. I gave it an IP address of 192.168.0.2 in this example. And then just using the GUI, I went in to network, go into the radio interfaces. I want to be able to scan both bands, so I have to do this for both of the radio interfaces, but I'm going to go into the settings, and then I'm going to change their role to be Spectrum. Okay? So once I've set that up on both radio interfaces, we can double check the status of the AP. So we'll go in, this one I went in by SSH, and we'll just do show Spectrum status, and that will tell me whether those radios have come up and whether they're ready to go. And the NSI key, we need that in a moment when we're asking the Spectrum Expert software to talk to the card. So then we hop into Windows, fire up Cisco Spectrum Expert. This solution will work with the MetaGeek Clean Air as well. In this example, I choose to use Spectrum Expert. And then this window comes up. So now I'll explain how I've got the AP plugged into the laptop in a moment, but we're going to go remote sensor, pop in your IP address that we gave the AP, and then you pop in the NSI key into the key field. Give it a moment, and then we're into Spectrum Expert using the Cisco AP as a sensor. There are some shortcomings. I want to look at both bands at the same time. In this mode, you cannot do that within one instance of Spectrum Expert, so I ended up running 2 instances of Spectrum Expert. You can do that by holding the Shift key and launching the application again, and then you can have two windows running at the same time. They're both down here. One of them talk to the 2.4 gig card, the other one to the 5 gig card. A technical shortcoming of this solution, you don't get the Wi-Fi information from the inbuilt adapter on your laptop. In my scenario, I was virtual Windows, so I didn't have access to that card anyway, but that wasn't the problem. When you load Spectrum Expert in remote sensor mode, it ignores any information from your local card because, in theory, you're connecting to one on the ceiling or at another site. So this is not by any means an ideal solution, but it did give me the way to perform spectrum analysis using a Clean Air AP and using the Spectrum Expert. Alrighty? And then you get the advantages of the profiling of the interferers. Alrighty? Now I just would like to share with you how I did it and walked around a customer site. So we started off with a bag, because I wanted to carry it all around with me. And I was using a tracer battery, which is a lithium-ion 12-volt battery. This is a PoE injector that will accept 12 to 24 volts, internally step that up to the 48 volts required, and then we've got 802.3 AF and AT PoE coming out of this box. And most importantly, we can get in the other side of the PoE injector, because I want the data side out. So this is what it looks like. Battery, PoE injector, access point. But then I find myself walking around a customer site with the bag on my back, and now I've got an Ethernet cable coming out, and that's going into the laptop. And that's not great, because now if I snag that on a door handle or somebody else, it's going to yank either the laptop, damage the port. So I decided, well, I'd like to do this by using a USB connector. That would be far more preferable. So we can do that with a USB to Ethernet adapter. And if I tuck that into the bag, then I can just have a USB cable coming out of the bag going into the laptop. So that's better than having the Ethernet port. But again, if you snag it, it potentially to damage the port on my laptop. So then I started a search on Google, convinced that some sort of MagSafe adapter must exist for a USB connection. It's not that complicated. It's 4 pins. Searched, and eventually I found what I was looking for, and it's called magnetic USB. But it was very difficult to find. It's manufactured by a company called Rosenberger in Germany, and it is, in fact, basically a MagSafe. It is not MagSafe, but it has the same functionality in that if you snag it, it will pop rather than the port being damaged. That cable that I used ended in USB-B, so a cheap and cheerful adapter. And now it looks like this. If I tuck all this into my bag, kind of go like tidy in there, and then we end up with a clean air spectrum analyzer in a bag. So, thank you.